Seek help and the stigma. On the news this evening, FCT Minister Wike says no further meeting with suspended Governor Fubara. Analyst urges National Assembly to delay Rivers budget approval. Military admits error in air raid on Bunu community, River State. Federal government declares public holidays for Eid-ul-Adha celebration. And on the foreign scene, Russia-Ukraine reach deal on new prisoner of war swap. I'm Sam Chinedu, and the news continues after the break. Back, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike says he has not held any further meetings with suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara since their last discussion, alongside two other governors last month. Wike, a former governor of River State, made the statement during a media chat with journalists. He questioned whether Governor Fubara has shown any remorse or made efforts to engage stakeholders involved in the ongoing political crisis in River State.
Governor Dapo Biodun, Governor Feboy, and one of the leaders from the Southwest, he came to my house, brought him. I said, listen, he's ready to make peace. This and that. I said, no, I don't have a problem. If you want to make this, he has the yam, he has the knife. He said he was traveling, he traveled. I've not seen my since that day. So when people talk about it, I don't laugh. It is not to go on television to say, I don't know. Okay, we didn't make peace without the assembly members. We didn't make peace without the leaders of the party. We didn't make peace. You see,
The FCC minister said the suspended governor has allowed himself to become a tool in the hands of his political enemies. He added that he often replays recordings of Fubara's past speeches and is moved to tears by them.
When people talk about resolution, sometimes when I go back in my quiet moment, I play the video of the speeches of the governor. What he said, what he did to me, I would. Was it necessary? This was somebody who brought you, gave you food, gave you everything, did this for you, then he became a tool for his enemies to fight him. We are all human. When people say there should be peace, nobody said there should be no peace.
Wike also said had the president consulted him, he would not have supported a declaration of a state of emergency in River State.
I'm not the president who declares state of emergency. If Mr. President had called me that time, I wouldn't have agreed for state of emergency. So he doesn't want to leave. He has everything on his I don't know. I have never supported. So the issue of because it's right or not, it does not arise. What I said was that his declaration of emergency was to save the governor because the governor was almost impeached.
The Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, also criticized the former Minister of Transportation, Chibuike Amechi, over his hunger comment.
It's unfortunate. Of all time, it's your sister's birthday that people are celebrating you. You need to tell lies to Nigerians. You are hungry. 8 years as Speaker of River State House Assembly. 8 years as Governor of you never talked about hunger. 2 years you have left office. I'm in coalition because I'm hungry. You're only hungry of power, and that shows failure on his facts. How do you look at it? How do you insult Nigerians? How do you trivialize the issue of hunger or poverty? Why do you do that? You're insulting Nigerians. You joined Atiku. You joined Alpha because you are hungry. Just that you can't stay out of power. That's the hunger.
In another development, a public affairs analyst, Mr. Opunabo Nkotaria, has urged the National Assembly not to pass the 1.4 trillion naira 2025 budget estimate for Rivers State until there is clarity on the figures and a constitutional basis for its presentation. Speaking in an interview with correspondent Emeka Otuka, Nkotaria raised concerns over due process and financial accountability, especially under the current emergency administration in the state. He questioned why the new budget figure surpasses the 1.2 trillion naira earlier presented by the suspended governor Siminalayi Fubara to the Rivers State House of Assembly, led by Victor Okojombo in December 2024.
President Chinedu went ahead to present a budget of 1.4 something trillion. The question you ask yourself, if the governor presented a budget for 1.1 trillion in a year and Mr. President mid-year is presenting a budget of 1.4 trillion, how do you rationalize it? That 1.4 trillion is for the same 2025, not for 2026. How do you rationalize it? And that's why I said the whole battle, requirement, whatever you call it, is not all about the security or insecurity in Rivers State. It's all about the treasury of the state.
As you may know, the 2025 Rivers budget of 1.481 trillion naira was recently submitted to the National Assembly for consideration and passage into law. Meanwhile, the Executive Director, Center for Transparency and Accountability, Mrs. Faith Nwadishi, says citizens should demand accountability from the sole administrator through a petition to their representatives in the National Assembly. Nwadishi made this known in an interview with correspondent Suibi Ruwari while speaking on how Rivers people can demand accountability from the sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, especially now that he is waiting for the National Assembly to approve the state's budget.
And because the people also don't understand the power that they have on these issues, they just go to sleep and keep quiet about it. So can you please give us account of what you have been doing? Then they would have done a petition to members of the National Assembly. The members of the National Assembly can now convene maybe like an open forum where the sole administrator will be made to give an account to the people. But I don't see this happening because even the members of the National Assembly are not accountable to the people because the people are not demanding for that accountability.
Also, political analyst Obinna Wadim is worried that since no Rivers federal lawmaker actually on the budget committee, it is unlikely anyone will truly monitor how the sole administrator runs the affairs of the state.
When you also have those who are also going to approve, those who are going to look into the budget, who are also not Rivers people. Normally, in a budget process, the Legislative Assembly makes input and they try to protect their constituencies, make sure that their constituencies are carried along, in the budget of that year. But in this case, you find nothing of that nature. So that is where I keep saying that is bringing us backwards. The intention, of course, the budget should have some positive intention, but in terms of developmental trend, I think that is going to be problematic.
However, public affairs analyst Obi-Wan Akawa says federal lawmakers from Rivers cannot really hold the sole administrator accountable, even if they are supposed to oversee his work.
So it is very difficult at this point, if you ask me, for the people of Rivers State to demand for accountability. The sole administrator is accountable to only the president appointed him, and possibly the National Assembly, who may occasionally carry out some oversight functions. But if you look at what has happened over the years in terms of legislative and executive relationship, the National Assembly, the Houses of Assembly across board appear to be mere rubber stamps of the executive, and they become an extension of the executive arm of government.
Mr. Kamwa also said the state of emergency has made it harder for citizens to ask questions or demand accountability.
state of emergency on ground has severed the Rivers people from participating in governance. No member of the National Assembly of Rivers State extraction is part of that National Assembly committee, and it tells you that there is a game plan deliberately orchestrated to shut the good people of Rivers State out of the scheme of things in the state, because a situation where no Rivers indigene in any form is playing any vital role in the governance and administration of the state. It leaves much to be desired, and it calls for so much concern.
Moving on, an elder statesman and former deputy governor of Rivers State, Gabriel Toby, says the vision of the founding fathers of Rivers State has been largely realized. Speaking on the 58th anniversary of the state, Mr. Toby told correspondent Emeka Otuka that key issues that led to the creation of Rivers State, such as marginalization, underdevelopment, and the need for economic and infrastructural growth, have seen significant progress. He said the state has expanded beyond Port Harcourt, with improved road networks now connecting several coastal communities, establishment of institutions of higher education, among other things.
For those of us who have seen it too, when we look back from where we are coming from, we must say that there have been a lot of development. But that was mainly the old area and the old towns. But now, over the years, Port Harcourt has met up with Crucial. We're going into Oyibo now. Port Harcourt has extended to Rumokoro. We also got universities, we got hospitals, and more significantly, the like of us who come from the riverine areas, we never have dreamt of driving into our hood. Over the years, governors have now connected the riverine areas, mangrove areas, swampy areas, and we can now drive to those places.
The former deputy governor stressed that more still needs to be done, especially in rural areas where poverty and underdevelopment remain a major concern.
There has been development, which we must have. Whether we have got to where we should be, of course not. There are still a lot to do. Talk about poverty. Of course, you know that most of the rural areas are still following in poverty. We still know that in some of the rural areas, our schools don't have electricity, they don't even have teachers. Some don't have furniture in the places. And we know, even in terms of health care, in some health centers, we don't have doctors, they don't stay there. So we have these limitations. So there's still poverty. One may say it's general, yes, but for those of us coming from the rural community, poverty there is really yearning to be recognized.
Mr. Toby called on political office holders to always put the interests of the people first in order to achieve meaningful development across the state.
So your question is, have we achieved the vision? Yes, we have to an extent. We still have a lot to do, and we always call those who put up themselves to be voted to know that if they come into office, they owe it to God and humanity to take care of the welfare of the people. They should think less of their pocket. After all, at the end of the day, where will you go with all that? So if they take care of the welfare of the people, they'll be happier for it. Our resources will be better utilized, and we cannot blame anybody if we don't get developed the way we should.
Still to come, military admits error in air raid on Bunu community, River State. Stay tuned. The chairman of the Community Development Committee in Bunu Thai local government area, Mr. Kingsley Kabari, says the Chief of Air Staff has admitted that the military air raid at the Palm Canal Mill site in Bunu was a mistake. The bombing happened on the 21st of May. Kabari, whose wife Blessing was shot during the military raid, told correspondent Emeka Otoka that the commander of the Nigerian Air Force base in Port Harcourt, who represented the Chief of Air Staff, visited his wife at the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital last week Friday. He said the commander blamed the air raid on misinformation. He said that although the military promised to foot the victims' medical bills, no financial support has been received as of now.
Commander, Nigeria Air Force, he said he was sent by Chief of Air Staff to come and see the woman, then Chief of Ukraine, which he didn't see the Ukraine, only met the woman at the UCC. Where he apologized to me personally and the community guard, it was an error, and they were misinformed, thinking that that place was for punking. He now applies that they would play the medical expenses and saying that the woman gets a sound health. But as I speak to you, we not receive a dime from them. Although, let's say they called me up and asked me to prepare the balance of what we spent so that they can give us a refund. There are a lot of things I spent that are very secret.
Mr. Kabari confirmed that the victims are still receiving treatment in various hospitals and called on the Chief of Air Staff to personally visit the scene of the incident, assess the level of damage, and ensure proper compensation is paid to the victims.
I insist that the Chief of Air Staff should visit the scene of crime. There are a lot of damages that were done. They have to compensate the community. Throughout that day, everybody went to Sarah because of that incident. They have not apologized to the community. So me, they apologize. So you may see me then to strongly come to the community and apologize to the community as a whole.
Some traders under the popular Mile 1 Park flyover have expressed worry over the growing rate of cultism and pockets of criminality in the area. Speaking in an interview with our correspondent, some commercial drivers at Bali Park also shared security concerns, which they blamed on the absence of streetlights. While calling for solar-powered streetlights in various motor parks, neighbors, and flyovers across Port Harcourt, the traders and drivers said nightlife and economic activities are gradually being crippled.
7 in the evening, I'm gone because of the security challenges we are having. If government can set the light within this education park, it will go a long way to help. Because those bad boys, they only operate where there is darkness. But if there is light everywhere, they will stay away.
Since the park, there are no street lights. So, think they pay us. Immediately 6 o'clock start. Everybody don't decide from my one park due to no light, no security. Bali Park to under this my one park flyover. If you pass, you go hold your phone well. If you don't hold your phone, they feel snatch your phone here for night due to no light. If light today, as they move, you go to see people when they come. If somebody want to make any bad move, you go notice them.
As light no day, you know go well because we know I see a B. The light day, people can travel at any time. So that solar light necessary for every one of us.
A victim of bag snatching at the Oberikwe flyover shared how she could not get help due to the absence of streetlights.
The other day I was coming back from work, so I didn't see a taxi. I just said, let me try. Maybe on my way I can see any taxi. I passed 2 guys. I greeted them. The next thing I know, they just snatched my bag. 2 people were coming, but did not even intervene because there was no light. I wish there was street light. Everywhere would be very bright. People would be very comfortable to walk around. So government should try and put street light there.
In other news, the federal government has declared Friday 6th of June and Monday 9th of June as public holidays to mark this year's Eid-ul-Adha celebrations. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, made this known today in a statement. Heineken brought the UEFA Champions League experience to life in Port Harcourt with a vibrant watch party at Le Sucre Lounge, Peter Odili Road. Fans were treated to an electrifying night filled with thrilling football action, non-stop entertainment and pure excitement, and giant screens capturing every moment from Munich. PSG's victory became even more unforgettable for fans in the Garden City, who enjoyed every second of the historic night in a setting that truly celebrated the spirit of the beautiful game. Area sales manager for Heineken, Badmus Adebayo, said Heineken is committed to bringing the experience of the Champions League down to the local football fans and also use the opportunity to connect with consumers, thereby fostering brand loyalty.
That is why Heineken has brought the experience locally for the consumers to enjoy and feel the presence, just like where they are feeling it in Munich. We are doing it to celebrate the Heineken as a brand. The brand Heineken has been a major sponsor of the UEFA Champions League for so many years. And what we do is, for every year when they are playing UEFA Champions League, we always try to use it to connect with our consumers, to get their loyalty. And one thing that comes to your mind when it comes to UEFA Champions League, Heineken comes to your mind. And that's the reason why we're trying to use it to resonate into the mind of the consumer, to ensure that once they are watching Champions League.
Badmus, who was impressed with the massive turnout of fans, promised that subsequent editions will be bigger and better than what was experienced at this year's final.
I'm not disappointed anyway. You see, the people are enjoying the experience, and I can tell you we still have a lot coming out this night. Heineken as a brand, if you see, it's a very distinct brand, and it's brand for the chairman. And if you know Heineken always stands out among all other brands. And I can tell you that for the next couple of years or the next coming years, Heineken will always continue to support UEFA Champions League and always bring this experience to the locals and everybody in the tournament. Yeah.
Paris Saint-Germain produced a footballing masterclass on Saturday night at the Allianz Arena in Munich, thrashing Inter Milan 5-0 to win the 2024-2025 UEFA Champions League, their first title since the club's founding in 1970. The news continues after the break. Say they have agreed to exchange more prisoners of war and return the bodies of 12,000 dead soldiers. The agreement was made at the peace talks today as the warring sides met for barely an hour in the Turkish city of Istanbul for only the second such round of negotiations since March 2022. But there was no breakthrough on a proposed ceasefire that Ukraine, its European allies, and Washington have all urged Russia to accept. On the news this evening, you heard the FCT Minister Wike says there has been no further meeting with suspended Governor Fubara. An analyst has urged the National Assembly to delay the Rivers budget approval. The military has admitted error in the air raid on Bunu community, Rivers State. The federal government has declared Friday and Monday as public holidays for Eid-ul-Adha celebration. On the foreign scene, Russia and Ukraine have reached deal on new prisoner of war swap and handover of bodies. The news was edited by Martha Okere. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808-721-7215. I'm Sam Chinedu. Thanks for listening.